What's going on, guys? So I'll be using NHL 25 to simulate the 25-26 NHL season. All the teams actually just released their schedules for next year, so I figured I would go in, set up the schedules, and obviously, I'm just kidding. That would be a ton of work. Would be really cool if you could make custom schedules. I'd probably have, like, my team play the San Jose Sharks every single time, but unfortunately, that cannot happen. Luckily, though, for this video to happen, me, Vasi, and Tugi have put together a new roster. Has all the updated transactions of the summer, whether it be trades, free agent signings, what have you, authentic drafts. So right here, guys, is that roster. Vasi X Tactics X Tugi V8. If you guys want to go and download it, it's on Xbox. Leave a like as well if you could. It would really help us out. The boys put in a ton of work. Your support is greatly appreciated. Also, too, couldn't make this video without the roster. And now for this video, guys, I'm thinking I'll be the Florida Panthers just because they're already right up against the salary cap max. It'll be really tough for them to make any moves during next season. Now, obviously, too, with the new roster, you can see a bunch of new team overalls. The worst team there in the Pacific, no surprise, is the Sharks. The best there is Vegas Golden Knights. Obviously, added Mitch Marner. You can kind of see there. I think Vancouver, Edmonton, the next two best teams. In the Central, Chicago there is the worst. Looks like Dallas and Winnipeg are tied as the two best. In terms of the Atlantic Division there, I think Tampa Bay is the best, 88 overall. The worst team there is actually Montreal, probably just because their goaltending there is a little bit lower rated. Obviously, Montreal, I do think, should be a solid team next season. Then look at the Metro. Philly there is the worst team. Probably no surprise. Pittsburgh still has, Sid and Malkin. And then the best teams there, Washington, along with Carolina. Of course, we're going to have, Ehlers there on the Carolina Hurricanes. So, overall, I think the ratings are definitely in a better spot now. In terms of the settings, I'll have owner mode turned off. Salary cap will be turned on still. Same with computer trade. So see without a simulation, you can actually predict some trades we'll see next year. And also, too, guys, I wanted to show you we actually have all the authentic free agents who are still available in real life. You can see the top two there, Roslovich as well as Grizzly. Behind them, you got some vets, Pacioretty, Fabry, Olofsson, even added Kuznetsov back to the game as there's a chance he could get signed to a team. So I'm going to start off by simming through the preseason and see which teams sign these guys. And so now, guys, before we start simming, I'll show you what every single team looks like for the new year. Florida Panthers here basically just running it back with the same team they won the Stanley Cup with. I got the authentic lines there with Tkachuk on the second line. Rodriguez might get moved. Like, they are $4 million over the salary cap right now. They got to do something. Obviously, they're buying their time, maybe waiting for somebody to come and make them an offer, which basically just means in-game they're kind of at an advantage because they get to be over the cap. So look at the Ducks here. They actually got Granlund first line left wing, Carlson, Terry, obviously Kreider there in the top six. Overall, not too bad of a squad. I'll probably just show the offense and the defense. Most of you guys should know, what the goaltending situation is like. If it's a team with a new goalie, like say the Red Wings, Gibson, I'll show that. Boston has a solid top pair, not a ton of depth. Obviously, Pastrnak there, really gonna have to carry this team. Bottom six does not look the best. In terms of the Buffalo Sabres, obviously they made the big trade. JJ Peterka, they get back Josh Dome. He's playing third line right wing there with McLeod and Greenway. Yuri Kulich actually has a good chance to be in the top six come real life this year. Defensively, they did re-sign Byram. Kesselring, they also got back in the Peterka trade. So we'll see what Buffalo does this season. I still don't think they make the playoffs. Speaking of which, Flames, I don't see sniffing the playoffs either. Just after Rieger and Anderson, no defensive depth. Plus, Anderson could get moved. Huberdeau still hasn't really returned to that Florida form. Frost, Farabee there. I did like that trade for them. We'll see what they can do there. Pacific Division, luckily, is pretty weak after Edmonton and Vegas. Hurricanes, of course, made that big signing, getting Ehlers. I think their top six is really nice outside of Jordan Staal at the 2C spot. I think they had a better 2C than I think will actually be Kotkaniemi. Their forward group look a lot better, plus Stankoven probably be in the top six overall. The ratings are kind of in a weird spot. The ratings are basically what players should be at the start of the season that just passed. So younger guys are a little bit lower because we know they're going to grow. Yeah, the ratings are kind of weird. All the contracts, though, are up to date. And even with, losing Brent Burns, Carolina there still has a very, very solid top six defense. Chicago here, pretty young. I think they have the youngest defense in the league. Murphy there, Vlasic. We'll see what Levchinov can do. Of course, Bedard doing all the heavy lifting in terms of that forward group. I think Frank Nazar as well as a guy who would play higher in the lineup. They actually signed Olofsson there out of free agency. Colorado kind of does something interesting here. They moved Nelson to the first line left wing. I think Landeskog would make more sense there. They have him, though, in the middle. Okay. Fourth line's not the greatest. Defensively, I really like the signing for them. Getting Brent Burns. I mean, their top six now is really, really nice. Columbus Blue Jackets here, of course. Kept Provorov. Cost them, I think, way too much money. They also got Charlie Coyle there from the Avs and Miles Wood. I thought they paid a bit too much, but definitely add some depth. They also signed Daniel Sprong and Max Pacioretty. Geez. So the AIGM here doing a lot of work for Columbus. Dallas, of course, keeps Jason Robertson at least for now. Mikko Rantanen in there, that big trade. I think, they did good work. Jamie Benn at $1 million is crazy. Defensively here, they did lose Matt Dumba, but they got an insane top three there in Haskin and Harley and Lindell. My Red Wings here, let's see. I mean, we added Bernard Docker. I feel like he's got to be better than Justin Hole. And then offensively, you got DeBrincat, Larkin, Raymond. Like, we got a solid top line. They'll probably spread it out, though, have ADB play with Kane. Casper hopefully take a next step. Appleton, didn't really mind that signing. Oilers here, of course. So we actually have Isaac Howard in the game, 78 overall. They're definitely not playing him on the fourth line. He'll either be, I think, second or third. Mangiapane there, I think, was a nice signing for them. Probably will play second line with Draisaitl. I doubt they go top heavy like that, but would be kind of crazy. I think Hyman makes more sense. So we'll see how the Oilers do. Defensively here, no changes. They're going with Nurse though in the top pair instead of Bouchard, which definitely is a choice. Next year, guys, look at the LA Kings. Obviously signed Dumoulin and Ceci. I think they paid a bit too much for both those guys. Offensively, though, I still do think they look pretty good. Hopefully for them, they don't run into Edmonton Oilers again first round of the playoffs. I think Turcotte, maybe this is the year, takes that step. They play him a bit higher in the lineup. Looking at the Wild here, they do still have to extend Rossi. He's the guy I'm hoping Detroit can trade for. Have, the two Marcos from Austria. We already got Casper. That'd be sick. Speaking of Detroit, obviously they got Tarasenko for free. So we'll see what happens. Minnesota has definitely done a lot with a little in terms of the two, buyout costs for Parise, Suter. I think they've done really well. Bouillon here probably too ends up in the top four above, say, Middleton. But they got, Jarachek, I thought, a nice trade from Columbus. Bill Guerin definitely doing good work. Montreal, Dobson they have on the top pairing with Matheson. They got Hudson with Gooley, Jacky, Carrier. Offensively here, you can see, Canadians, Demidov in that top six. I'm very curious to see how good he'll do. Zachary Bulldog, I like that trade for them. They also just signed a Gio Valeno. In terms of Nashville Predators, their team very underperformed last year. Stamkos, Marchessault, those are two guys, big signings. We'll see if they can kind of, get back to form. Defensively, Yossi hopefully will be healthy. Nick Hague they traded for. Actually, didn't mind that, but I thought the cost to sign him was a bit much. Devils here, really good top six. Siegenthaler, Pesce, Hamilton, Hughes, Dylan Kovacevic. They got Nemets too. I think somebody's got to get moved. For me, they need a top six guy, so that'd be a trade that makes a lot of sense. Connor Brown probably overpaid a little bit. Islanders here, interesting team. Obviously got the first overall pick in Schaefer, but trade out Nelson. They bring in Jonathan Duran. We'll see how he does without the Avs, without McKinnon. Hyman, of course, back in the Dobson trade. Siplikov here, they also do extend. They also signed Shabanov here from the KHL. They're playing, him on the fourth line, which probably isn't ideal. They also got Duclair as a center. You guys can see here, too, Schaefer is on the team. I think he's the only draft pick I actually added because he's the only one I'm pretty confident will make the team. Basically, I just had to recreate him. You can see no game face, but all the stats, X factors, etc. are the same. And now, even with losing Dobson here, their defense doesn't look too bad. They got Adam Volkvist, who's obviously not as good as Dobson, but we'll see how, good Schaefer does in his rookie season. Gavrikov there, big signing by the Rangers. Now, offensively, Panarin, Miller, Zibanejad, nasty. Honestly, the top six there looks pretty good. Rangers definitely underperformed last year. We'll see how they answered back. Senators finally do make the playoffs. Top six there looking pretty good. You could even get, Perron, Pinto, or Zettelin in there instead of Greg. Honestly, the top nine is probably the nicest they've had in this kind of, Brady Tkachuk era. Sanderson, Shabbat there, Jensen. I really like the trade they made for Jordan Spence. Artem Zub there. Of course, holding it down defensively. Philly here, I think they just extended Cam York, which I thought was pretty nice. And it looks like Philly has Andre starting over Drysdale, which is interesting. I think they're both 79s. Offensively here, it's not terrible. I definitely like that trade for Trevor Zegras. We'll see if he can kind of pop off with them. Just, playing all offensive game. Dvorak, they definitely overpaid, but added some depth. Penguins here is definitely an interesting one. Like I said, you still got Malkin, Crosby, even Raquel. Apparently, Dewis was trying to get a first and a prospect for him, which seems rich. Brian Russ, another guy you could move. Novak, Hayes. The forward group's not that bad. Anthony Mantha they signed. Defensively, you still have Letang and Carlson. Looks like they also signed Tyson Barrie. I don't know. That's a team with some really good older players and then not much behind them. The Sharks there spent some money on Orlov. They also got Letty off waivers. I think they got, Klingberg there for quite a price, but a lot of good young players. Eklund, Celebrini, Smith, Skinner they signed. Same with Kurashev. Of course, they made that trade for Reeves. So Sharks are an interesting team. I don't see them, being too competitive. Same goes for the Kraken. Just a lot of pretty good but not great players. Mason Marchment I thought was a decent trade. Defensively there, I think is pretty much what they had last season. St. Louis Blues here. Cam Fowler actually looked really good there. Same with Broberg. They got to have Broberg, keep getting better. Obviously, we're the hottest team in the NHL post the Four Nation break. Some rumors around Jordan Kyrou being traded. I don't think that's going to happen. They did sign Suter there, so see what happens with them. Tampa Bay Lightning, of course, still very top heavy, but add a lot of depth in that trade for Berkshire and Gord at the deadline last year. And then defensively here, they actually bring in Mark-Edward Vlasic. I could see him going to Tampa, chase that cup. They also get Grizzly, $2.2 million somehow. able to fit that under the cap. Toronto here, the defense stays exactly the same as last season, but obviously forward-wise, way different now without Marner. You got Nyes, Matthews, Nylander going top heavy. They signed Jack Roslovic. Wow, they're busy. Tavares, Michelli, of course, they brought in. I thought that was a nice move. Lawton, Wall, they got for Marner. Yarncroc, McCann, Domi, Joshua, they also just picked up. So, obviously, without Marner, they do get a lot of added depth. We'll see if that is the way to go. Utah here is going to be a fun team, I think, this season. They got JJ Peterka on that team now. I feel like, the top 6 there looks pretty good. Kind of like Carolina. If they just had a better 2 seed than, say, Hayden, I think they'd look a lot nicer. Sergachev, of course, I do think is a solid player. Nate Schmidt they brought in. We'll see if he can kind of play the way he did for the Panthers in the playoffs. Canucks there. Defense looks a lot better with Pettersson being added. Of course, they got the 3 Petterssons. The first one there, 1C. Besser does return. They're definitely going to be interesting team to see. Evander Kane trade, another one that kind of bit of a head scratcher, honestly. Price they paid. And next, you guys look at the Vegas forward group. Obviously, adding Marner there on that first line with Eichel. They got Barbashev with them still. Hurdle, Carlson, Stone. Like, that's an unreal top 6. Even the bottom 6 there. Like, Doro Faya, 4th line right wing. Real life, he'll for sure be playing above, say, Brandon Saad. Defensively here, no Pietrangelo. They still have Hannafin, Theodore. We do have Pietrangelo on Vegas. I choose to take him out because, he said he's done playing hockey, but people want to leave him in for that first year, whatever. I get it. Washington Capitals here, of course. Had a really, big year last year. A lot of guys with career seasons. Ovi might be his last year before returning to the KHL. So we'll see how they do. Ryan Leonard should be in that lineup. And then finally, guys, Winnipeg Jets here. Of course, you have no Nick Ehlers, but I think they still have, a pretty good chance. Jonathan Toews coming in back to his hometown team, playing 3C. Definitely a good amount of depth. And then, of course, defensively there, I think they actually are pretty solid. So we'll get started with the sim, guys, and see what happens. And so now, guys, to the trade deadline. Curious to see the top players, available. John Carlson on the block. 1 year left at $8 million. Maybe the Capitals aren't having the greatest season. They think if Obi's leaving next year, Carlson's got 1 year left. He's, 35 now? Maybe that makes sense. Jared Spurgeon. I feel like he's always on the block for the Wild in this. Nick Schmaltz, Tom Wilson. Interesting. Matt Royce. Yeah, the Capitals are really selling to know there. Ryan Donato, Ryan Strome, Kuzmenko, Fogle. So nothing too crazy, I guess, outside of, John Carlson. And next year, guys, we're taking a look at all the trades that went down at the deadline. Last trade of the day was actually Christian Dvorak returning to Utah, who obviously was Arizona, with Jacob Vrana. In return there, Philly got a couple second-round picks. I feel like they'll definitely be traded. Even though he's overpaid to 1 year, they can retain 50%. Jaden Perron going to Utah. I think that's a nice pickup. Sam O'Reilly gets moved again, this time to LA from Tampa Bay. They must have gotten, like, a player back, because I just see the 2 picks there. Carter Yakimchuk to Boston. That's a big-time trade. Ottawa gets back Fraser Minton a 3rd. I'm hoping the 2 others are nice because Minton in a 3rd is not nearly enough value for Yakimchuk. Alex Kerfoot there to the Flames. Ryan Strome to the Jets. Okay. Radko Gudas to the Stars. Chibrikov there to the Vancouver Canucks. Forbert there to the Jets. Anything else going on? Matt Roy to the Flames. EJ Emery there. Pretty good defensive prospect to the Sabres. Devin Levi to the Rangers. I mean, Shesterkin's pretty young still. Nick Schmaltz to Penguins. Gabe Perreault to the Blackhawks. Surprise Rangers well on from him. They get back Ryan Donato. Jason Dickinson there to the Blue Jackets. And the final trade there is just like Connor Timmins to the Sens. So nothing too crazy. Honestly, Yakimchuk probably was the biggest trade of the deadline. Also, Nick Schmaltz getting moved there. And now, guys, to finish through the regular season, as you can see in the Atlantic here, the Maple Leafs win the division, even without Marner. Tampa Bay and Florida, the only 2 other Atlantic teams making it in. We'll just do it division by division. So the Metro Rangers back on top. Hurricanes, Capitals, Devils, and the most shocking thing is the Penguins somehow get in. I guess Sid just wanted to will them into the playoffs. Dallas, Colorado, St. Louis, and Winnipeg there in the Central. I mean, that does make sense. And then in Pacific here, you got the Oilers, Golden Knights, Canucks, and then the Flames actually squeaking in as a wild card. Best team in the entire NHL. It was actually a 3-way tie. Oilers, Stars, and Rangers. Oilers, though, are the one taking on the President's Trophy. And then the worst team in the NHL this year was the San Jose Sharks, followed by the Blackhawks, the Flyers, the Kings. A big down year. Red Wings as well. Lastly, Atlantic. Montreal, unfortunately, takes a step back. So I feel like the bottom 3 or so teams does make sense. And now look at the entire league here, guys. Matthews led the way in points, 117 and 66 goals. So pretty good, for him. No Marner, but Nylander, of course, was still there. Point, Aho, huge year. Nylander 105, McDavid only 100. Now, of course, guys, this is with the 700 score set to medium, shot frequency at high. I feel like high, they get crazy, like multiple guys putting up 150 points. Unfortunately, this, I think, is a tad too low. Maybe in 26, they can kind of tune it perfectly. Sid there still at a 97. I assume Matthews 66, yeah, is good enough there for Misha Shard. So huge season, Quinn Hughes, 77 points, outscored McCarr there by a little bit, had a better plus minus. Fox, though, only 6 points back with the best plus minus of the guys at the top. Riley, though, I see plus 34. Goaltenders here, Blackwood with the Avs, 42 wins in a full season. I mean, he was looking really good with them after the trade. Save percentage there for a starter, Thatcher Demko with a 9.23. And then lowest goals against there for starters, also Demko. So could be taking home the Vezina. And now next, you guys are going to sim through the entire playoffs. Obviously, we actually have a rematch of real life first round here, Florida-Tampa. So we'll find out who EA has winning the 2026 Stanley Cup. Wow, this is kind of crazy, guys. EA's predicting Florida pulls off the three-peat, back-to-back-to-back Stanley Cups. This, of course, will be their 4th straight Stanley Cup final appearance. And right here, guys, we have the 2026 draft lottery results. San Jose stays at 1, which means they win the McKenna sweepstakes. That'd be crazy. Adding him to Celebrini, Misa, Eklund, Smith, are you kidding me? But what I wanted to say, guys, is look at this. The Panthers actually beat the Oilers again in the 3rd straight season. I think for sure if this happened, McDavid's gone. He's just like, you know what? This Oilers team is cursed. We've lost 3 straight Cup finals, all to the same team. I'm getting out of here. So that would be nuts. I don't know if that's ever happened. I mean, probably back in the original 6 era it did, but since we've had, at least say 16 teams or something like that. So Panthers there, swept the Lightning round 1. Devils in 5, Rangers in 6, and then they swept the Oilers, my goodness. And the Oilers were looking good. Swept the Flames, Battle of Alberta, that'd be awesome. Beat the Golden Knights in 6. Stars rematch conference final, they win in 5. But then, yeah, cannot get by the Panthers. Looking at the awards, guys, for 2026 here. Again, imagine that's like 3 straight cups for Florida. This is still like, technically the 24-25 season for the awards. In terms of the records, Matthews, we know on the Art Ross, and the Hart. James Norris there goes to Quinn Hughes. Nylander, Lady Bing. Color doesn't count as all the old rookies. Barkov got the Conn Smythe this time. Demko did get the Vezina. Okay, so if he's healthy, that'd be awesome. Vlasic there won the Bill Masterton with Tampa Bay. Flames coach Jack Adams, Crosby, Selke, Matthews, Ted Lindsay, and the Maurice Richard. So EA's predicting a huge year for Matthews post-Marner era. And then, of course, Florida, Edmonton again in the Stanley Cup final. Like I said, that would be absolutely nuts. But that's going to do it, guys, for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, leave that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.